Today I'm going to show you how to make a pinch method bird. These are done by creating a pinch pot and closing in a pinch pot, creating a pod form or an enclosed hollow form. And then from that form, we pull a head and pull a tail and then add decoration and wings. And it looks like a very simplistic bird form. So I'm going to take this ball of clay. It looks like it's about a softball size. I think I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And this is a wedged piece of clay that I had from earlier. I think I'm going to cut some off, make it a little smaller. Okay. So I like to start with a nice ball of clay that fits in my hand. About a baseball size is usually where I want to start. You can always make a whole flock of birds and a family of birds. Maybe start with a medium-sized one, and then if you want to make some bigger, some smaller, or parents and babies, you can do that. These are wonderful decorative forms. They take glaze really well, and you can even paint them with acrylics. So I'm creating a ball. I'm trying hard not to allow big air pockets in this. Okay. And since I already have an indentation here, I'm going to start again as if I was making a pinch pot. But this time I want my shape to be a very long, deep pot. So I want to make sure that I do not open up this pot wide at all, but I keep it as if it's a long pot or a deep pot. The idea is to not have a big opening here in the mouth or the rim. And again, I want to make sure that I have an even depth. So I want to make sure that I'm not making the walls too high too fast, and that I haven't forgotten about evening out all the walls at the bottom. Okay, so I think I'm bringing this pretty tall. So this looks like a pinch pot again. Not as wide, but more narrow. Okay, so from here, after I have this nice shape, almost looks like a really tall igloo, I'm going to pinch this together and close this in. So this is a hollow form, and it is called a pod shaped. You see pods in nature. Often, it almost looks like the shape of a nut, or things that come off of trees. So what I'm doing is I'm trying not to make an indentation, but I'm squeezing the sides together, and I'm transferring the clay back and forth. And if you like to use tools, or you find that it's helpful, you can take your modeling tool and transfer a little bit of clay back and forth so that you've closed in that seam. But be careful not to indent it. That is the hardest thing for beginners to understand. You don't have to push a lot, and you just transfer that clay, and then you have a complete seam. So by looking at this, you can almost see the bird shape that's going to come about. So the idea is not to set the bird down if you can help it. You want to create a round bottom, and if you sit it down, it's going to become flat. So keep it upright the best you can. You have in your kit, you have a piece of foam. So you're going to use that foam anytime you need to sit this down. Usually I don't put them down at all. I just keep them right in my hand until it's completely formed. And these ridges can go away later. They're just from your hands. So I decide whether I want the beak at this side or this side. I think I want the beak to be here and the tail to be here. So I take my fingers and I just start pulling this clay. So when I make the head, I am taking my left hand and I am almost going around the neck with my thumb and finger, index finger. So I'm creating the neck of the bird. You can see how that's developing. And then what I do is I push to get the beak shape. And I like a very natural looking form. This doesn't look necessarily realistic. It's very symbolic of a bird, but it really doesn't look like any one type of bird. Okay, so I have the head forming, and it's very simple. And then I take my hands, and I actually like to flatten out this tail a bit with my hands. So I'm pulling the tail, and then I'm taking my hands and right away I'm trying to get that tail feather look, and I'm flattening it and pulling it. Okay, so it's not a complex project. I obviously have had a lot of practice doing this, but you will right away start to get a bird shape that will be totally identifiable. And then if you somehow don't like the form and you really can't find that you can save it, just start over. Anytime you don't find you have success, I've only been working at this 5 minutes. So I haven't put in a lot of time. If it doesn't work, I just start right over and I make it again. And every time you try it again, you've learned something from the things that didn't go well the first time. So ceramics and sculpting is a lot of trial and error. It's not like an acrylic paint where you can just go right over with another color and hide what's underneath. There's no way to do that. So I love my ribs. The ribs are my favorite tools for this project. And I go in and I take these ribs, and if I don't like all my finger marks, I can go through and I can smooth out and really get those ribs or the finger marks smooth, get rid of the divots. Okay. I don't add a lot of water at first because this is a pretty wet form right now. So I don't want to add a lot of moisture right now. I want to wait till it's a little firmer, and when it's leather hard, I'll be able to add a lot more detail and carving and texture. And I will do that in the next video after this has had a night to set and get harder. The one thing about this is this is regular clay, so it means this bird will have to be fired in the kiln, and I will need to poke a hole in this, because if I didn't poke a hole in this, the air trapped inside would have nowhere to go. As the bird begins to shrink, the clay shrinks, and it would cause an explosion. It would actually just burst open and the air inside would get out, breaking the entire bird into pieces. Okay, so there's my bird structure. As you see, the bottom is still round. You can try to keep that shape by patting it. If you have a wooden spoon at home, that's also a great tool to use. And then I think tomorrow I'm going to show you another video. I'm going to add on, and I'm going to show you how we're going to make feathers, tails, and wings. And if you'd like your bird to have a different form or fit or stance instead of this, you can turn the head. You can also have the bird be sitting upright. You could have the bird pitching down if you like that. And like I said, I might just smooth a little bit today, but I'm going to smooth more when this gets to a leather hard state. Right now I'm just smoothing the surface, but when I want to smooth more, I have to wait till the clay is a little drier. So that is your ceramic pinch method bird.